with CM Punk's interview causing a stir and more. My name is John, and you're watching The Wrestling Report. Touching on Ring of Honor being on television, AEW President Tony Khan told Brandon Thurston, "I think the idea of 2 more hours of AEW was very appealing. What it meant was AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation would be coming to an end, at least for now, and they were great shows, and they've been huge for the development of AEW. I think in the future, Ring of Honor is going to be very important for the development of AEW." Asked if there would be a hard roster split between Dynamite and Collision, AEW President Tony Khan told Busted Open Radio, "Nope, it's not a separate roster. In fact, you're seeing people that are wrestling on this show that just wrestled on Wednesday, where we follow up on what happened with Toni Storm versus Sky Blue match for the AEW Women's World Championship. No, it's not a separate roster. It gives us an opportunity to showcase a lot of the top stars in AEW and feature certain stars week to week. I never said there would be a hard roster split. In recent media appearances, I've been making it pretty clear that it won't be, and it's a great opportunity for the fans to see featured stars on these Dynamite shows and Collision shows week in and week out, but also we can have rivalries carry over between shows and utilize the shows to make follow-up matches or settle grudges or book big title matches." Speaking of Collision, the Wrestling Observer mentioned how the success of the show is crucial for upcoming TV rights talks with Warner Bros. Discovery. It's adding a successful second 2-hour show that will be the key in negotiating a new rights deal, which most likely will be done early next year, since it's expected Warner Bros. Discovery will be picking up the option year for AEW. The option year was contracted for a significant price increase, but nowhere near numbers thrown around a few years ago. This option year would be up at the end of September 2024. That's why Collision is so important, because the key talks will probably start at the end of this year or early next year, and where the company stands at that point will determine its interest level from buyers, which in turn will determine its finances for probably the next 4 to 5 years after that point. While CM Punk will be featured on AEW Collision, it appears that he will be making appearances for Dynamite as well, with Ringside News writing. Initially, there were reports suggesting that a brand split would be implemented to accommodate Punk's appearances on either Collision or Dynamite, while the Elite would work the other brand. However, AEW President Tony Khan has since addressed these rumors and clarified that the company is not currently considering a hard roster split. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, those within Warner Bros. Discovery are expecting Punk to make occasional appearances on Dynamite. In those weeks, members of the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club would likely be featured on Collision. Giving an update on Tommaso Ciampa, who has been out due to injury, the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Ciampa should be back shortly. There was a tease of his joining with the Gargano family in some comments that have been made. Calling out AEW for their presentation of Ricky Starks, Jim Cornette said this on his Experience podcast. "Ricky Starks, the people like him and he's good. He's got fire. He is being booked to be left laying on his face or beaten or foiled or demoralized or whatever constantly. He's got a chance here to show what he can do, and Jay White, supposedly this hotshot great worker from New Japan Opportunity in America, where nobody knows who he is, to show what he can do, and they're just having bad sloppy fighting on the floor like every other match that we see from this company." Calling out Goldberg for a retirement match, EC3 told the Wrestling Outlaws, 173-0, big deal. You had to lose to a cattle prod and a big sexy powerbomb? I eat big sexy powerbombs for breakfast. Then you know what? I Goldberg out of my asshole. EC3, whose undefeated streak was actually legitimate and consistent for many years in Impact Wrestling, and I never lost to a cattle prod. Not once. So, Bill, If you want your final match, have it against the final man to beat you, EC3. I'll catch that spear, drop him on his bald head, and boom, just like that. You know what? I'd probably make him tap too. With WWE set for more talks with companies about hosting the likes of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT on their program, the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that if the new WWE rights fees for SmackDown and Raw in the US go for under $705 million, it will hurt the stock price. If it goes for significantly above that, it will greatly enhance that value. In addition, they are looking at involving more main roster talent and angles on NXT in order to build those ratings and make it a higher profile show with higher ratings and thus get significant rights increase on that one. Speaking about the match between AEW World Champion MJF and Adam Cole on Dynamite, which went to a time limit draw, Bully Ray criticized the production team for using blood. There are things that I saw last night that unfortunately commanded my attention as much as the great performance of Adam Cole and MJF. The bad to me was the use of blood. What did that blood really get us? The blood did not advance that story in the match, nor did it come into play later on. So it's a gratuitous use of blood that did not help the match take steps forward. Would the match have suffered if there was no blood from the mouth? Not at all. So I don't know why they felt they needed to use a super kick that led to MJF bleeding from the mouth. I am begging AEW to learn from their production mistakes when it comes to blood, when it comes to catching things that the pro wrestling universe does not need to see. The production is showing us things that they shouldn't be showing us, such as MJF spitting whatever was in his mouth into his hands and sliding it under the ring apron. It was a deliberate shot, as if they wanted to show it to us. It's unfortunate, but these unfortunate production errors have happened a multitude of times. Most of the time, they've happened with Moxley, where they're exposing what Moxley is doing at any particular time when it comes to bleeding. So please, AEW, do a better job with your production when it comes to aspects of things pro wrestling fans do not need to see. With the crossover event between AEW and New Japan coming up soon in Forbidden Door, this was said about CM Punk being involved, as Ringside News wrote. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that it is very likely that CM Punk will wrestle at Forbidden Door. That being said, his match hasn't been made official yet. It was noted that since CM Punk is coming back on Saturday, June 17th, and the Forbidden Door pay-per-view is on June 25th, then given that he's back Saturday and the pay-per-view is the next week, one would think that you would put him on that pay-per-view. That being said, Meltzer also noted that there are matches with big stars that haven't been booked for the Forbidden Door 2 event yet. With CM Punk recently doing an interview, it was noted when Punk felt the issues with the Elite began. As ESPN wrote, in Punk's mind, the division started sometime in spring 2022. Previously, he said he felt as if he had a solid relationship with the group, including approaching Omega to ensure nothing Punk was doing in his matches would infringe on what spots Omega had planned, and checking in on Page while he was sick with COVID-19. As Punk's issues with Colt Cabana have been well known to pro wrestling fans, it was even rumored that Punk had attempted to get Cabana fired, as it was said that Punk told ESPN that he has no relationship with Cabana, but that he never asked Khan to take Cabana's or anyone else's job. But others in the company, including the Elite, believe Punk did indeed do that, per sources. Page was evidently confident enough to bring it up unexpectedly on television. Recalling his apology to Tony Khan following the drama at All Out, CM Punk told ESPN, "The first thing I said to Tony when I sat down with him and spoke to him after it was, man, I'm really sorry I put you in that position. I apologize for the scrum." But when you've watched that scrum, you're looking at a very, very frustrated guy who had told people that's not the first time he heard all that. It's not the first time lawyers were told all that. And I was just looking for something to be done and nothing got done. So if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I just just didn't approach it in the right manner. But tension was high. I was very, very pissed. I pretty much knew that I had just injured myself again. I was hurt and I was disappointed. Yet it's very easy for me to say I regret that, and I handled it in the wrong way 100%. Mentioning the tensions between himself and Adam Page, Punk noted how he got hurt during their match at Double or Nothing, telling ESPN, "I proceed to have what I think is a garbage match because I'm trying to protect myself on stuff instead of actually just working and trying to put on the best performance I can. I'm keeping an eye out. He chopped me in the mouth one time and I'm just like, okay, did you do that on purpose? You chipped my tooth," and I'm like, alright, should I give him a receipt? It changes the dynamic. It poisoned everything for me, and it made it all really, really ugly. And that was what set all of this off. And here we are over a year later, and ain't been done about it. Noting the issues the ESPN interview with CM Punk have caused in AEW, Dave Meltzer said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, "There was a lot of internal and external talk in recent days about an interview Punk did. The interview was with ESPN's Mark Raimondi and will be released on the 16th, so it's best to wait until it is released to comment. Past much of the talent at the 14th show were aware of the content, and AEW was hoping that the comments Punk made about Adam Page would not be part of the article/video, but the talent is largely aware of them. This is largely because the company is actively trying to sign Page to a new long-term deal. There was an attempt at damage control going on at press time, but much of the talent was unaware of what Punk originally said." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.